Hey guys, Charles here. Let's do 2000. I don't know how I've skipped this one. Set 2, 2019. There are set 1 and set 2. Let's just do it. Assume that Artland is currently operating above full employment. If you're operating above full employment, is that a recession or an inflationary scenario? I hope you said inflation. Sounded like Mr. Rogers there for a second. I hope you said inflation. Draw a correctly labeled graph of the short run aggregate supply, long run aggregate supply, aggregate demand, the current equilibrium output and price level, PL1, Y1, Y1, YF, and PL1. Assume the central bank and the government do not take any policy action. This is what we talk about as a classical view, right? The understanding is there is no monetary, no fiscal policy. Show how the economy automatically adjusts in the long run and label it PL2. So I'm just going to go ahead and explain it also. Wages, if this is a very hot economy, unemployment is very, very low, so wages are going to get pushed up. Prices, input prices are going to go up also. This implies that your short run aggregate supply curve will shift to the left. We can see that. It's going to shift because of those wages going up. Short run aggregate supply curve shifts to the left. We go back to full employment at a higher price level. So we go back to full employment at a higher price level. Now, I don't think you can shorten this at all. I think you need all of these pieces to explain that. Explain the cause, that's where we just did. That was our explanation right there. We'd write it out a little bit more tight than that, but make sure you have all those pieces. Alternatively, suppose the government wants to close the output gap using fiscal policy. So if we're here in a hot economy, inflationary, government spending needs to go down. Easy enough, right? How will the fiscal policy action affect the unemployment rate? Unemployment will go up because obviously output is going down when it's contractionary. This is contractionary, right? Fiscal policy. Fiscal. Natural rate of unemployment, there's no change. Here's your natural rate, right? Here's your natural rate of unemployment. Fiscal monetary policies don't affect natural rates, so it doesn't change. In closing the output gap, will the automatic adjustment identified in Part B1 produce a higher? It will be higher, or the same compared to fiscal policy. So when fiscal policy does their business, they push aggregate demand back to full employment. But when we just let it fix itself, that classical view, there's no fiscal, price level will go up. And back to that PL2, which I should have marked earlier. All right, draw a correctly labeled graph and show the effect on the real interest rate. Supply of loanable funds, demand for loanable funds. This is the real interest rate, quantity of loanable funds on the horizontal. If government spending is going down, that implies that there's got to be more money in the banks. I choose to shift supply. You could have also decreased demand. Either one to make the real interest rate go down. Maybe IR1, IR2. And then let's make sure we fill this in correctly here. Q1, Q2. There we go. And given the interest rate change, will the long run aggregate supply curve shift to the right, left, remain unchanged? We answer these always in the same way if they're talking about long run aggregate supply. Real interest rate is going down, therefore investment is going to go up. That means there will be more capital formation. If there's more capital formation, not formational, I don't know what I'm doing there. More capital formation goes up. That means there'll be more long-run aggregate supply. In essence, our long-run aggregate supply will shift to the right, right? That would be, remember now, this long-run aggregate supply, they also could have said what happens to your PPC. They could have said what happens to long-run growth. They could have said what happens to potential real GDP. Notice all of these are really just the same thing they're talking about, that growth, that shifting out of the PPC, that rightward shift of your long-run aggregate supply curve. Potential real GDP increasing, long-run growth or economic growth increasing. All right, guys, be safe, take care.